Welcome back to another episode geared toward men and boys, whichever you prefer to be called. This episode is going to be geared toward men who lean toward having an avoidant attachment style. So if you know that you have that, or if you feel you might have that, this is going to be for you. I am going to go through and try to help you understand how this is perceived from a woman's perspective and how you can understand some of your tendencies if you do have that attachment style, and maybe what you can do better in to improve your dating life if you are single. So this is definitely geared toward those men who tend to have an avoidant attachment style, meaning they could be fearful avoidance, dismissive avoidant, but they're going to run instead of stick through things most of the time. That's a very general way of saying this, and I'll get more into it shortly. But we're going to talk about this because it may be something where the same patterns have shown up in your dating or your romantic life, and you've never had language for it. Every woman that you've dated has possibly said things like she's confused, or she's angry, or she's in tears, or she doesn't understand why you're canceling plans with her. And you may not have had a good answer for her either. You may not even had any answers or any explanation. You just knew this is what you do. And when you felt the impulse to run or to cancel or to ghost, you're just doing it. And we're going to talk about why that might be. So, welcome back to Pulling Threads. I'm Leslie. This is For the Boys, episode 4. And today we're going to name something that has probably been a central confusion of yours and your romantic life for a long time, if this describes you. The thing every woman you've ever dated has been trying to figure out without enough information, the thing that, until you have a language for it, will keep happening in a loop. And once you do have a language for it, something can quietly shift. A lot of times when we name things and we just understand and have an awareness, it allows us to shift into better cycles or better patterns. All right. So it'll be different the next time you walk into a date. If you pay close attention and you do some work around this, it may even be different the next time you read a text. Definitely going to be different the next time you feel that specific kind of pulling away that you haven't been able to explain in the past. A lot of people with this, men and women, describe it and describe regretting pulling away later. That's why there's so many back and forth relationships on off for people who have this tendency. So first we're going to talk about the paradox. What you want is two things if you have this attachment style, okay? It may sound like these two things can't be true at the same time, because you're probably going to want this woman to want you so much that she would orient her whole life around you, okay? Pick up the phone first, choose you over her friends, and make you the center of her week. And at the same time, you want her to have her own life, her own friends, her own work, her own existence complete. That doesn't depend on you for her to function. So this is a part of a person who has an avoidant attachment style that a lot of people don't really talk about. We talk about the ghosting, we talk about the pulling away, we talk about the peace out at 4 months. But we don't often talk a lot about this tendency to want women to consider you the center of their universe, but simultaneously want and need them to have their own life, their own complete life without you, so that they doesn't seem like they really need you. So you want to be the most important thing in her world, and you want her world to be full enough that being important in it actually means something. This is the paradox you've been living inside. And the reason you've never been able to articulate it is that men's content space treats it as a contradiction. Either you want her to be all about you, or you want her to be independent. The whole conversation is set up like you have to pick one or the other in many online dating spaces, especially geared toward men. You don't have to pick one. And the actual truth is, the one your body has been operating on without your permission for 30 years is that you actually want both. And until somebody names this for you, you might keep finding yourself confused at women who have legitimate questions about why you are confusing them. I myself have been in this situation with my boyfriend. I threw everything at him. I really stepped away from hobbies, friends, all kinds of things to make him the center of my universe. And then at some point, I started feeling really lonely, even though I had him. I missed my friends, I missed my hobbies, and I realized, oh my God, like I'm a relationship expert and I have let myself be consumed by this relationship. And so when I started taking a step back and I would say, no, I'm not going to get coffee with you this morning. I'm going to go do Pilates or I'm going to go on to work. I want to get my work done. It was a big turn on for him. So I thought because he loved being the center of my universe, that if I ever said no to him, he would take it as a rejection. And that then he would seek out someone else because I wasn't spending time with him. When in fact, it turns him on and makes him want to see me even more when I step away and say, oh, I'm busy. I'm going to go walk with a friend or I'm going out with the girls. He likes it that I have my own separate life because it takes pressure off of him. All right. So where does this all come from? I want to use a piece of vocabulary once and then I'm going to drop it. This pattern is what attachment researchers call dismissive avoidant. And it's the most common attachment style among men in the age demographic that I think I'm reaching here, probably between 40 and 60, maybe 30 and 60. And here's what's important about that term. Before we set it down, it has nothing to do with not wanting love. And it has to do with how love was wired into your nervous system before you had any choices. Okay. So when you were very, very young, 0 to 3. Here's what happened to many, many baby boys. And I would say this very gently because I know some of you are about to feel something, and I don't want you to take this as you had bad parents, okay? Our parents had lots of things happening to them and lots of distractions, but somewhere in your early years, the people who loved you the most, your primary caregivers, may have sent you two signals at the same time. Signal one is that love means being needed. And signal two means being needed is suffocating, okay? Maybe one or you're both of your parents were emotionally overwhelmed. Maybe you had lots of younger siblings. Maybe they were working a lot. Maybe something happened. Maybe you learned very young that being the easy kid, the self-contained one, the one who didn't need much, was how you got love. Maybe you watched somebody you cared about get drowned out by somebody else's needs. And you decided very quickly that you would never be that needy person. Whatever the specific shape of it, you can do many, many deep dives on your attachment style, but your child nervous system was trying to make sense of the contradiction between love means being needed and being needed is suffocating. Okay, so your little child mind came up with a brilliant solution. It learned to want closeness, but from a distance. Specifically, closeness with someone whose own life was full enough that her need for you would not become engulfment. Engulfment is that suffocating feeling. So you grew up, and every woman you ever felt deeply pulled toward, or deeply suspicious of, or deeply tortured by was being scanned by your nervous system for two qualities at the same time, and you may not have even known that that was happening. One, does she choose me intensely? Does she say I love you right away? I know someone who was bragging that they had 7 women in 1 year say I love you. Seven, seven women. And that was validating for them at that point in their life. Now they see it differently. But at the time, they were like, yes, one more. I've got one more to validate and show me that I am lovable. Okay. So if she chooses me intensely or loves me intensely, then good. My significance need is being met. Then number two is, does she also have a life that does not require me to function? If yes, your nervous system relaxes. You can stay. If no, your nervous system reads engulfment, suffocation, threat. And you're going to start pulling away when she starts feeling needy. And you might not know why. Or when she just starts wanting you to be a part of her everyday life. And she doesn't have anything else that's taking up space in her life the way that you are. That's when people tend to start pulling away if they have this issue. So this is why you've been hot and cold. This is why the woman who wants you the most is the one you can never quite want back. And this is why women who is too independent feels like she doesn't actually want you. And the woman who's too invested feels like she's going to swallow you whole. There is a frequency, and it's narrow, and almost no one has ever taught anyone what it is. So now I want to slow down for a minute, because what I'm about to say is the part that some of you might want to skip past, but I'm gonna ask you not to do that. The women that you've been dating cannot read your wiring. They're tracking your nervous system in real time without language for what they're tracking. They don't understand this either. They get close to you, you pull away. They give you space, you come back. They feel chosen one minute and discarded the next. And most of them eventually conclude that something is wrong with you or with them or with the relationship, often all three. Some of them leave. Some of them stay, become quieter versions of themselves to keep from triggering you. They learn not to need too much. They learn not to ask for too much. They learn to read your moods and adjust their own. And neither of those outcomes is what you want, but you have not given them or yourself anything else to work with. So the relationships work or you discard everyone. If you're listening to this and remembering specific women, specific moments, specific things that she said in tears that you couldn't answer, please don't turn that into shame. That's not what this is about. Turn it into recognition. The fact that you're listening to this episode, probably in your 40s or 50s, if I'm hitting the right target, this is the door opening for you. This is the version of you they were asking for. And this is how you can better understand yourself. This aspect of people, working with people with an avoidant attachment style, is often not discussed or even recognized. It took a really long time. My boyfriend and I knew he was avoidant and I had an anxious attachment style. And it still took us a really long time to realize, oh, he actually needs me to have my own life a lot. And it turns him on. He never really spoke it. And when we were talking about this subject and I was putting this out there, he's like, oh yeah, it's way more attractive when you're busy, when you've got your own thing going on. So what can you actually do? There are three things that I'm going to recommend. First, you learn to feel that engulfment alarm, that feeling of like being swallowed up by someone before you act on it. So when you feel that coming on, your nervous system is signaling that it's too much, right? It's about 90 seconds before your conscious mind decides to cancel plans, to go quiet, to ghost, to pick a fight, or to work late. And most avoidant men have never noticed this. The signal feels exactly like, I want to be alone. It's not. The threat response. It's your nervous system reading something, reading her tone, her question, her wanting, mistaking her tone for the tone of 3 girlfriends ago, as engulfment and trying to get you out of the room starts to ramp up, okay? And if you can catch the signal in those first 90 seconds, you can choose your response instead of being by it. I know it doesn't sound like long, but that's the entire skill. Notice the alarm. The alarm is, I don't want to go tonight. I want to be alone. We're just going to notice it and not act on it. And breathe through for 90 seconds. And then make a choice. If you still feel like you don't want to go after breathing for 90 seconds, set a timer. Make the choice. You can cancel the plans. But if this is someone you care about, you've been seeing for a while, and it doesn't seem to make sense why you don't want to see her, but you just know that you don't, this may be your nervous system responding, all right? So we're going to give ourselves 90 seconds. Just breathe. And then make a choice. And you could choose either way. Second, you communicate your need for space without disappearing. The avoidant default is to withdraw without explanation. Go quiet, you cancel, you bury yourself in work, you stop responding. Women experience this as being discarded. And here's the thing, they're not wrong. From their nervous system's perspective, you're discarding them. Disappearing without language is functionally abandonment. And a lot of us have abandonment wounds. So this is triggering on a whole different level for us. All right, the same need, the actual need for space communicated, lands completely different. Hey, I need a quiet evening on my own tonight. Can I see you Thursday instead? Same amount of space, different relationship. That distinction is the whole game. Even talking about the potential that you may have an avoidant attachment style, and that sometimes all of a sudden from out of nowhere you need space and it's not personal. Having that conversation is huge. Third, and this one almost none of you have ever done, you have to tell her what you actually want. The thing I just said in this episode, I want to be the person you love most, and I want you to have a life that does not need me to function. I know that sounds contradictory. It isn't, and here's why. Saying that to a woman who's been confused by you for months or years is one of the most repairing things you can do. It will not fix everything. There may be damage that has compounded too far for that conversation alone to address. But it will give her something true to work with for the first time in the relationship. And that, in and of itself, is the beginning of repair, which is probably what you want. Don't let your nervous system be the thing that ruins every relationship. Because if you stick it out with some of these people for long enough, it might just work. And it might just be amazing. I want to plant one more idea before we close. The thing your nervous system is actually looking for has a shape. And the shape is not what you've been told. You don't actually want a woman who needs you. You want a woman whose life is rich enough. Being chosen by her means something. Being needed feels like a burden, right? Being chosen by someone who could genuinely thrive without you feels like devotion. The distinction is everything. It's the entire reason your wiring exists. Once you know this about yourself, the entire dating landscape is unrecognizable to you. You stop trying to find a woman who's sufficiently independent, right? Because that's not actually it. You stop trying to find a woman who's sufficiently devoted because that's not it either. You start looking for a woman whose life you would want to be inside of and who would want you inside of it without requiring you to be the whole of it. That's what your body's been asking for since you were a child. Now you have words for it. Remember, as always, we are not broken. We're wired. And sometimes we have to do some rewiring. And sometimes we just have to understand the wiring, right? It can all be worked with. And listen, some of you listen to this and remember specific women, specific conversations, specific moments where she was trying to tell you something and you didn't have language to meet her. If one of those women is still in your life, you have an opportunity. You can hand her the language now. If she's not in your life anymore, you can let this be the version of you that you bring to the next one. Okay. Next week's Pulling Threads episode in the main feed, not this playlist, is a version of this conversation written for the women on the other side of it. The ones who've been driving themselves crazy, trying to make sense of what you've been asking for. It's called What an Avoidant Man Actually Wants. If a woman in your life has been confused by you for months or years, send her there. It's one of the gentlest things you can do for someone who's loved you well, even when you couldn't give her language for why it kept feeling like loving a moving target. If you want to keep going with this work, I'm at theloomlife.com, and you can find me on The Loom Life on Instagram. But keep following. Every week I'm going to be coming in with a new episode. If you are a man in the dating landscape and you have something you want me to talk about, drop it in the comments. And I would love ideas for what men are looking for and what you need. Historically, I have catered my practice to women, but I recognize that supporting men is just as important for many, many reasons. This was Pulling Threads. I'm Leslie. Take care of yourselves out there.